Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's late night race of MinhtheMage versus Allisele. I'm Zyrak, and I'm joined by Maggie. How are you?
Good evening, Zyrak and Free Enterprise fans. I am Maggie the Cat, and I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for asking. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight during this late night seed. Hope everybody is doing well. Zyrak, is there anything in particular that you are looking forward to seeing tonight?
We were just talking about this right before this started. I really want to see a seed where we don't have the easy grind options available. No darkness crystal, no sirens. Let's go do something wacky. Let's farm some searchers in Lower Babel. Let's kill some doors. Let's do something weird. How about you?
Yeah. We were just talking about what would maybe incentivize our runners to do something kind of out of the blue like that. A telestart would certainly incentivize them to do something like maybe a D machine grind if they find an early darkness crystal and have maybe a reason to go to Mount Ordeals. Of course, music is always going to be a fan favorite, so finding an early twin harp is going to be something that everyone is going to like to see.
Yep, absolutely. Twin harp, good fan favorite, good Z sprite. That's really what we want to see. I guess we can go over the particulars for anyone who's new to seeing a Fabul Gauntlet race. So Fabul Gauntlet is, if you've watched randomized Final Fantasy IV Enterprise before, the big twist here: 5 random objectives that are revealed to the runners right at the beginning of the seed that they need to complete in order to obtain their crystal, which allows them to do damage to the final form of Zeromus. So these seeds can be all over the place. You can get 5 really quick objectives and have a seed done in a little over an hour, or you could get something that's absolutely terrible and we can be here all night.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that our tracker Dappas was just hyping up a really late night 2-hour plus Into the Darkness seed here. So if you are looking for some late night entertainment, you can hope for something like a really nasty boss hunt, maybe a character who is gated in the Giant of Babel, that they're going to have to go through the whole giant to find that character. So we're going to find out our 5 objectives in just a few moments here once our runners get underway.
Yeah, it's fairly standard flags. Elsewhere, fairly standard chest and shop flags. Nothing too particularly crazy elsewhere. The objectives really are the thing that's going to potentially throw any wrenches into the runners' plans. Both runners are 0-2, which means to have a real shot at advancing into the bracket stages, they need to pick up a win tonight. So this is an important race.
Yeah, absolutely. The winner will have a shot at proceeding on. The runner-up is, I think, if I'm correct, is going to be pretty much excluded unless there's some way that they can maybe get in on the play-in races. I'm not entirely sure how that is going to how that comes down, but we are underway. We see that our partner tonight is Rosa. She's an excellent find, and our key item to start is a rat tail. So we need to find the hook in order to turn that in, but at least we are starting with an actual key item.
Yeah, this is a really interesting start. Rosa on her own with no help doesn't do much, but one good bow, one good set of arrows, and she's generally more than enough to get you through the first couple of early game bosses. Tella is also kind of an interesting start. The one thing about Tella's start that I really like is because he gives you access to the exit spell, he gives you some really neat options if you want to loot some areas that you don't think your opponent is going to do to try to give you an advantage, then that exit spell really gives you a nice opportunity to be able to do that.
And we're getting our objectives here. So we were just talking about unusual grinds. Our very first objective is to unlock the sealed cave. So the Luca key is going to be required. So we may actually see some door grinding, possibly. We also have to drop the magma key into the well in Agart, break the Dark Elf's spell with the Twin Harp. So Twin Harp is going to be required. Defeat the bosses of the Dwarf Castle, and defeat the boss of Lower Babel. So lots of things happening underground today.
Yeah, this is huge. This whole seed could very well hinge on the Luca key and the Twin Harp. The Magma key is more or less a 50-50 if that's your underground access. So those other two key items are really going to be the thing that we're going to be looking for. No boss hunt and no character hunt. This could be a quick one.
Yeah, absolutely. It is oftentimes the boss hunt and sometimes the character hunt, like we were talking about, if it's somebody who's gated in a really unusual place that can stretch a seed out. But when it's just the key items like this, we could see it go a little bit faster, especially since all of the items are going to be well, I guess they could be up on the moon. If we find an early darkness crystal, there could be something up on the moon that then leads them back to underground. I was going to say everything's going to be on Earth, but not necessarily.
Yeah, definitely could still have the classic chain stuff on the moon that throws you all over the place. Could always have that D-Mist hiding somewhere really funky too, so you never know. Both runners so far doing sort of some of the more standard equipment checks. Min heading straight to Damson into Antlion Cave. Allisele doing the full Baron loot, finding a couple of decent items in there. I noticed a silk web and a ninja shirt, which sells for a pretty decent chunk of change. And it looks like she's headed over to Damson now as well.
Min doing a really interesting play, landing the airship and then saving right outside of the Antlion Cave, and then going to check the character here on Hobbs, so that in case he doesn't like the character or maybe the boss that he finds here, he can save scum and go straight to Antlion. That's a really smart play. Saves a few seconds in case he wants to exit straight out of this. But it does look like he's going to take this fight. That's a Palom. The Black Mage, Quack Kid, up on the mountain, guarded by Odin. Shouldn't be too difficult of a fight here for this party.
No, even the two sources of Lit 1 will actually do a pretty decent amount of work here. Allisele did poke her head into the Octomammoth Cave, found Golbez, so a little too hot even for FE After Dark. We're going to let Golbez have a shower on his own, and we will not be going back there today.
Very excellent for our runners to know that Trollbez is out of the mix. Don't have to fight him, and he's not part of the required objectives, and he's not in a location that they're going to have to go to. He can be a really dangerous and also annoying boss to have to get through in the incorrect location.
Yeah, anywhere with a lot of speed and magic power, Golbez can be absolutely brutal.
So Min has picked up his Quack Kid and is now going back into Antlion. Lots of chests in here. Also a key item at the bottom of it. Usually the boss is not very difficult. Looks like Palom got enough levels to probably get all of his level 2 elemental spells. So shouldn't have too much trouble. Has got a pretty reliable source of damage now, even if Rosa has not picked up a good bow and arrow at this point.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about the early game Palom is that one key item boss, even if it's just the Antlion spot, is enough XP to get him to Ice 2, which is generally going to be enough, unless you find something really nasty somewhere, like a Velvalis or something. It's generally going to be enough to get you through the overworld bosses, as long as you can keep that Palom alive. And Tella, for whatever faults he may have, does have blinks, so that combination should be enough to get you through most of what the upper level can throw at you. And Rose has already picked up a stack of poison arrows, which with a few levels, that will likely be enough to have her be very useful as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Finding some pretty decent gear in here, at least some things that Min is going to be able to sell. Allisele is right behind, picking up Palom, going to defeat this Odin without too much trouble. That Lit doing quadruple damage against that Odin. Rosa plinking away with her aim. We're about to see the boss here at the bottom of Antlion Cave on Min's side. It looks like it is oh no, it's not Vanilla, I'm sorry. That is going to be Octomom.
Yeah, Octomom, again, more lightning weakness. Being able to cast lightning spells is actually very... Well, all the elementals are helpful in FF4 to some extent. There are a lot of bosses with thunder weaknesses, so being able to take advantage of them here early is great.
Allisele doing something that I don't think Min did, which is to loot the west side of Mount Hobbs. This is a good play when you do have Tella or even an early Fusoya in your party who has the exit spell, since then you can see, as she's doing right now, you can exit straight back out and not have to walk all the way back to the airship. Picked up a couple of good things. A samurai armor I saw that can sell for a pretty decent amount. There's our Luca key that is required for our first objective.
Oh, we are looking pretty jetty to start out here. Basically just looking for that magma key and the twin harp now. This could be a quick one, and we do have access to that Tella, so D-Machine grind, as long as the darkness crystal is not too buried, is on the table as well. Definitely could be a fast one.
Yeah, absolutely. Or if we don't find sirens or a darkness crystal, we may be seeing that door grind that we were talking about.
That would be great. Please, just once. No D machines, no king roos, no eggs. Let's see something wacky. Let's see if some runner has got something buried in their back pocket for when the situation comes up.
Maybe we'll find a vanilla darkness crystal in the sealed cave, and so if they want to grind before they go through it, they're going to have to take some doors just to get through whatever the boss is that's waiting for them there.
Wyvern. Let's have the new Boat Boy seed. Wyvern at Evil Wall. Let's make it happen.
There we go. I was gonna say Golbez, because Golbez in that spot is awful, but we already know the Golbez can't be there, so Wyvern there would be pretty bad too.
All right, we got more bosses weak to lightning here in Fabul with this Leviathan. So these lit arrows, this lit 2, yeah, they're gonna make this is turning out to be pretty close to optimal party setup for the bosses that we've been handed to us. Really, just want to pick up that one decent physical character to take care of the bosses that we really want physical damage sources for, and we'll be in a really good shape party wise.
Yeah. These it's been a very smooth start for our runners for the start of this seed. That Leviathan goes down without any trouble at all. Allisele is right behind in the Octomom fight. I think she's not going to have any trouble taking that Leviathan or that Octomom down. There's our magma key.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so this seed is down to the twin harp, basically. So come on, chat. Everyone gather your energy. We got to put it somewhere gross. We can't make it too easy for these runners. This is going way too quick.
Yeah, everybody get your guesses or get your votes in as to where you think or where you want to see that twin harp, because that's the only thing they need. That's the only thing they need in order to complete all their objectives at this point.
Even well on your way to a really nice reflect party for Zeroma, so we can pick up. Probably you'd want one more caster to be really comfortable. But as long as you can find a cursed ring somewhere, likely you're going to find one in an armor shop. Yeah, this could be really nicely set up. Basically, looking for that grind method, although doors and the twin harp, obviously.
I don't think either of them have checked the vanilla demist spot for demist yet, so they can still check that. We've got Min going back into Baron Inn to check the character and the key item here. Well, there's our Wyvern.
So Wyvern at that spot in particular is a problem. He is real fast right there, so you are, even with the Tella, you are going to need something to tank Tella's agility to realistically be able to get a turn in there.
I thought I saw that Min had just picked up a cursed ring off of one of the checks in Fabul. Maybe that was Allisele, so I could be mistaken. Maybe she was the one who just picked it up, but I thought at least one of them has a cursed ring. So I think there's one floating around here somewhere.
That absolutely would be perfect. Min is going to drop this magma key down and is going to head underground. If he can manage to locate sirens down there, get a bit of a grind on, and then get through this this dwarf castle objective and hopefully pick up another party member there, I would assume.
Depending on where they get their twin harp, they may not even have a full party going into this. They of course could continue to look for key items even after they find the twin harp, but they may have all their objectives done before they even have a full party, depending on where they find that twin harp.
Yeah, it's definitely a real possibility for sure. There's just not a whole lot. Oh, it looks like Min is going to take another crack at the Baron Inn, or just going to go do some more shopping.
May have needed a few moments to kind of gather his thoughts and decided to go clear an objective since he knew he had it available. Looks like he also has not looted Baron. He went straight up to Damsian and then over to Mount Hobbs at the start of the seed. So picking up a few of the checks there, and now it looks like he's going to be the first one to dive underground. Although Allisele is right behind him, just picked up the Magma Key on her side as well.
Right, Allisele is a touch behind on the progression, but she has looted a lot more. So if there winds up being sirens or stuff that's important that costs money, she's going to be ahead of the game in that by comparison to Min. Min making a really interesting play. Okay, just unlocking Luca, not going to go check it out. So that does complete that objective for him.
Yeah, the sealed cave isn't actually required to complete it. They just had to unlock the door, which we see now that does complete the objective. So if they decide not to do anything else with that dungeon or that location, they don't actually have to complete it if they decide not to.
Yeah, so Min taking a look at the dwarf castle fight. We see Dark Elf back there. Probably not going to be doable at these particular levels. Even if he can somehow manage to get through the first phase, I think handling the Dark Breath is going to be pretty difficult.
Dark Dragon, once you get Dark Elf into the Dark Dragon form, is weak to a lot of statuses, including Stop.
Palom does have it. Okay.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I'm not sure if Tella has it, but Palom has it at this point. So that might be possible. I think it's going to be very difficult, but maybe.
Yeah, I didn't realize Palom had Stop already. So yeah, that does actually give him a chance if he can get there for sure.
Allisele, meanwhile, has found Cure 3. I believe she is in Silvera. That's a really nice find. Making some room in her inventory and selling some items in order to be able to afford a few of those. This early in the seed, they're really expensive, but she was able to pick up a few of those. Nothing else real good in the weapon and armor shops here, though.
Yeah, the other issue here is this Whisper. Because you're going to have to deal with that. You won't be able to really cast anything, and so yeah, there's the reset once Palom got the piggy.
Yeah, with an entire mage party, that Whisper is going to be pretty dangerous. If you had a team that consisted of a lot of melee fighters, it wouldn't be so bad because Piggy doesn't really do anything to your fighters, but it does prevent you from casting spells. So when you've got Palom and Tella and them trying to be casters, that doesn't really do you any favors.
Yep. It's still good information for Min, though. He knows what he has to deal with to get through that first boss there. Even just finding one hourglass just out in the world would likely be more than enough.
Looks like Min is going to kind of double back and do some of these checks that Allisele has already done, while Allisele is meanwhile doing some of the checks that Min has already done. Looks like she's going to be dropping off her Magma Key. Not sure if she's going to dive underground right away or if she's just getting the objective out of the way. But while both of our runners are kind of overlapping here, let's give a quick shout out to our restream team. We have Dathis tracking tonight, and Smaped rolled this seed and is restreaming it for for us tonight. So thank you so much to our Restream team. Thank you to the Free Enterprise community for hosting such events like this. And thank you to Zyrek for sharing the commentators booth with me.
Happy to help. And yeah, the real shout outs go to the other two guys. They are the absolute definitions of workhorses so far for this tournament and FF4 in general. So they definitely deserve the shout out. So I know from speaking with Allisele a couple of times that she is normally a fan of the check your freebies strategy. So now that she's on her way underground, I would expect her to check out the free shops, the Sheila 1 check and the Feymarch check when she gets down there. So we'll see if the jetty feel of this seed causes her to change her strategy or not, or if that's what she continues to do.
Yeah, we didn't see Min check too much in the underground before he came back up, and now it looks like he is scaling Mount Ordeals. That's also a very valid play because with the 3 characters that you have, Tella being one of them, Tella's going to get a big boost in his power by getting this Mount Ordeals out of the way, and it's another key item check. So not a bad play at all to take on this spot right now. Plus, it's probably the easiest spot that they have access to besides the free checks underground.
Blue Robe, just Water Hag. Getting the good side of the 50-50 here.
Yeah, of course, it looks like chat was looking forward to that Gauntlet. One of our newer flags that was introduced in version 4.0 was the alternate Fabul Gauntlet, where when you run into the Fabul Gauntlet boss, if that flag is enabled, then instead of fighting the traditional Baron guards and random the enemies that come with them, you will fight random encounters that are pulled from the area that you are in. So on Mount Ordeals, you might get things like Liliths and ghosts and zombies and other undead.
So Allisele did find sirens for sale here in Dwarf Castle, which is very nice. I would almost certainly be scrambling some eggs here once I get through with the other free checks.
Yeah, 1 or 2 I think would be enough to get Hallam up to Quake, and that would be enough to get through definitely the rest of the overworld and a good part of your underworld checks. You could probably at that point take the bosses in Dwarf Castle and some other spots too, depending on what you get opened up to you at that point.
Yeah, and Min running into sort of one of the reasons why Ordeals can be a bit of a rough play sometimes, because it's 3 bosses that are blocking you from getting to that item. The odds of you coming across a boss that is tough for your party to deal with is pretty high. Mega Sisters at the Mill and Z spot for an all mage team is really rough because Sandy is going to wind up being walled the whole time, so you don't really have a great way of directly damaging her. And that spot actually has a fairly decent magic attack stat, so those spells that they cast actually really hurt. And it's actually forcing Min to backtrack down off the mountain here. Maybe gonna grab Star Veils to combat that, or might just decide to try to look elsewhere, since just surviving those bounce spells will be difficult for him at this point.
If they have a elven bow or can find mute arrows, Rosa would turn into a mage slaying powerhouse that could possibly take at least the middle mage down. But I don't know that they've located either of those items yet at this point.
Yeah, I noticed that I believe it's Allisele's Palom was wielding a mute knife, which would be nice, but I don't know if Min came across that anywhere in his set of checks.
So Allisele is making this dive down into the Feymarch as you predicted, Zyrek. Ooh, that rune axe is pretty nice. Too bad we don't have anybody who can use it right now. That would be great against the Mega Sisters, though. Lots of checks down here once you get into the actual town. And then, of course, there's the free key item check that's in the chest right there, and 2 bosses that can hold key items as well. So I'm sure we're going to get a peek at those in just a moment here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Light Phoenix, I completely think so. I don't think Min has checked out that dwarf shop yet. I don't think he knows that's where the sirens are. But levels are an incredibly important resource in FF4. And even with the mage team, just getting them enough HP to be able to survive 1 or 2 rounds is quite often the difference between being able to get through a boss and not being able to get through it. Personally, I would absolutely be killing some eggs or whatever your grind fight of choice is. But yeah, no, I would definitely be looking at doing some grinding here myself.
So the free item down in the Feymarch chest was the spoon. It's a key item. The spoon flag that everyone has so come to love is not available in the Fabul Gauntlet flag set. So that means that that Edward that we know is in Baron Inn cannot equip the spoon. If they do find an Edge can of course dart it, and it does also count as a key item for the purposes of having 10 key items to double the XP that the runners get. But otherwise, it's not really immediately useful.
So it looks like Min is following everyone's advice and is going to take on at least a couple of eggs here, get some levels. Getting his mages up over about 600 HP or so would be basically should be enough on its own to be able to get through the Mega Sisters if that's what he decides he wants to take on next. That's honestly probably enough to get through Dark Elf and Dwarf Castle as well.
That's a spicy find down in the Feymarch. That was the Calcabrina dolls in the Leviathan spot, and then Demist. I'm sorry, it was Demist at Leviathan, or Demist was at the Ashura spot, and the Calcabrina dolls was at Leviathan.
Right. You definitely prefer to have them in that order than
yes.
the other one.
Yes. I mean, I think Demist in either of those spots is pretty bad, but if you're going to find Demist down there, you'd rather have it in the Ashura spot.
And yeah, so the Calcabrina dolls are generally considered one of the quote-unquote free fights to be able to get through them. That spot, actually, the Leviathan spot has enough HP that you actually are going to want a fairly strong form of AoE to be able to get through them. And they actually will hit relatively hard, especially because if you have an hourglass, the ones that you stop are actually the ones in the back row, which doesn't really help that much. So it's certainly a lot freer than a lot of Leviathan fights can be, but that you can walk in there with 300 HP and expect to live through it either.
Yeah, and Allisele did, I think, wisely decide to nope out of there for the time being. She did go and talk to Yang. Doesn't have the pan yet, so when she gets back to Fabul, she'll be able to talk to Sheila for one potential key item, but it looks like she's taking a pit stop in Troya to pick up some items in the item shop there, while Min is taking another shot at this dark elf that is in the dwarf castle.
Yeah, with this much HP, I think this fight should be quite a bit easier. Even if Palom winds up taking a whisper here, should be able to get a heal off on him from Tella. So yeah, this should go much better than the first attempt. And yeah, it looks like Allisele is just doing all the shop checks, making sure that she's well stocked for whatever is going to come her way. I think she's checked pretty much everything, so now she'll have the decision to make about where she wants to try to go to progress the seed.
Yeah, they have quite a few options open to them. I don't think she knows that Wyvern is what is sitting here waiting for her in Baron Inn, so I hope she remembers to save after she gets done using this tent here.
She does. Perfect. So if she did come across that cursed ring somewhere, then that would probably be enough to let Palom get a cast off, or at least get a Star Veil up. I didn't see one in her inventory right there. I may have just missed it.
Yeah, I was looking too. It's a little bit hard to see. She's scrolling pretty fast. Once she sees the Wyvern sitting there, she might take the time to specifically look for something like a cursed ring. Yeah, I didn't. Now that she was in her rings items with Palom there, I didn't actually see another ring for him to equip, so she may not have it.
I mean, we're not really in a humongous hurry to get Eddie anyway, are we? I'm not.
I mean, he's DJ Spoony B, and we need to find the twin harp. So maybe he would help us find the twin harp. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Evil Wall's still out there, so maybe.
Right, exactly. And I see Tella taking a dirt nap over on Min's side, but looks like he does get through that Dark Dragon fight.
Yeah, I'm looking at seeing what comes in out the second boss spot here. Another lunar boss.
And that's a Cecil, which would be great if he had scaled Mount Ordeals first and managed to get through those Mega Sisters.
Okay, Plague is not too bad, especially with the Tella already down, and you can life him up to start getting the count recasts going. Ogopogo would have been awful for this party, because you would have been eating blaze counters and basically any damage that you did to him.
Yeah, that would have been much scarier. Actually, this party composition is pretty good for the boss here. If he can get a life off on that Tella, he'll probably be okay. Or he'll be okay either way.
Yeah. Palom managing to do just enough damage with the viruses there, with a little bit of chip damage on the Thor Rages. But this is definitely going to push Min back up towards Ordeals again now. Not only does it power up a Tella, it actually gets you a useful Cecil. And we have run across a couple of lightsabers, I think, throughout our random checks. So actually probably would be able to get some decent damage out of that Cecil as well.
Yeah, I've seen both lightsabers and rune axes that Cecil can use. So, and there's the third... Well, it's technically the fourth objective, but the third one that Min has been able to complete of our 5 objectives that he is now finished.
Stardust Rod is not progression, but it's a great find for that Palom. Gives him Comet to be able to use on fights where Wall is sort of a hindrance, like the Magus Sisters, and just gives him a humongous boost to his wisdom for his black magic. So for not being progression, that's a pretty decent pickup.
Yeah, definitely. And Allisele is making her way through the Mount Ordeals fights. We'll see if she has anything that can be useful against the Mega Sisters. Palom is not high enough to know Quake yet. I don't know what kind of weapons she has on her Rosa, though.
Yeah, she definitely has a mute knife for sure. Whether that's going to be enough on the Palom, I don't know, because she's not going to be able to take these spell casts. Yeah, pretty quick reset.
And it looks like she may be noping out of Mount Ordeals for the time being as well. Min is going straight back up there. His Palom does have Quake, so it should make pretty short work of that Mega Sisters fight now to penetrate the wall of the Middle Sister.
Right, as long as his Palom doesn't get sniped, and he should have enough HP to take at least one spell. So you'd have to get pretty unlucky, but as long as that doesn't happen, he should be fine to get through this now. So we still have the Twin Harp at large.
But otherwise, we're 30 minutes in, and we have Min has got 3 of his 5 objectives. Has the option to do the 5th one if he decides to go and see what the boss of Lower Babel is. Chat has already put in some guesses for where that twin harp is. Anywhere in particular that you are hoping to find it, Zyrek?
You know what? At this point, give me that D-Mist at Ashura. Give me that. That's going to be with a caster party but without nuke. That's kind of a pain to be able to get through. So I could easily see both runners scouring the world before they go back there to do that. So let's see it there.
That would definitely be a good spot. I would almost like to see it at the behind the Luca key because already Min has opened that and used it, and I wonder if he's, are they going to fade that now? He's used it, opened it, got the objective done, but is he going to remember to go back in there and actually check the key item?
Right. It could be very well be that you'd want to wait for either you get ordeals done so that Talon knows warp, or you wait for Palin to learn it. And Palin actually takes a little longer to learn warp than the other black mages do. But it's a little more attractive once you have access to that, for sure.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, having that warp is going to be a little bit easier to get out of there. But we're about to see what's at the top of Mount Ordeals here on Min's side, being the first of the 2 runners to get through that Mega Sisters fight that was blocking them.
Earth Crystal, access to 2 characters. I would be very tempted to go and do that to fill out my party, see if I get easy access to a couple more casters to fill out a Reflect team, or a couple more Berserkers to fill out a Berserker team. But I would definitely want to see what's behind that Earth Crystal.
Yeah, that's pretty huge. And it also opens up the treasury in Troya if they decide they need a few more item checks.
This is another free boss that's at a spot you don't really want a free boss. So as the seed progresses here, Wyvern and Golbez are off the table, but there are a lot of other nasty bosses that are still around that can still be on the moon. So still run into a Knatso or a Baigan or an Antlion or somebody else that you really, really don't want at those moon bosses that could potentially be guarding our Twin Harp.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it could be up on the moon, like at the Ogopogo spot, guarded by Baigan, and that would be pretty awful.
Especially for this ultra squishy mage team. Although, all of that being said, with the Cecil now, you always have access to cover strat. So as long as you can find some good physical gear, stick your Cecil in the back, and just let him tank for everybody.
Yeah, very true. And he already has some pretty decent weapons available to him. If they happen to come across an Excalibur or, dare we say, a Crystal Sword, that just makes things all the more easy for this party.
Yeah, Crystal Sword basically solves all your problems. It's Crystal Sword Cecil is more than enough to get through the fights you just want to hack through on his own, and then you have all this spell firepower with your Palom and your Rosa behind that.
Min faking us out, looking like he was going to go for the Lower Babel play, and then it looks like he's taking a detour here to Dwarf Castle. Maybe he's going to pick up some more Sirens so he can grind Cecil a little bit.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. And if you're going to do this, maybe you just go straight to the top of Lower Babel from here, since you know that you have to do that. It's a decent chunk of experience. And worst case scenario, if it is a terrible boss, like probably the worst boss that could be there would be Knatso, at least you kind of know what you're up against.
And even Knatso at the top of the tower, we saw in a seed recently with enough ice and lightning is not too awful there. And they have I think Rosa has lit arrows, and then they have both Palom and Atella with access to lightning and ice spells, so would be able to take out a pretty good chunk of damage before the first wave came out, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. That spot just does have a ton of HP, and this is a pretty squishy party, so it would still be pretty tough without any agility manipulation to be able to survive that first wave, I think. Kenyatta is, other than the obvious, is probably the rudest boss that can be up there for that reason. But yes, having all the access to all the lightning and absolutely certainly helps.
So we see that Min cracked an egg and accidentally hatched a dragon out of it, but was able to survive the lightning storm attack that it summons, and is now got some levels on Cecil. Also, I think has a weak on Tella now that he went up ordeals. Yeah, it looks like that's probably what he's going to be using against this second egg that he's taking. Oh, maybe, I don't know if that virus was intentional or not.
Virus is doing enough damage that the follow-up attack should be enough to take the dragon out as long as you queue it up close enough, but pretty little bit sketchy there, almost losing the Rosa, but manages to get through it.
Allisele, meanwhile, was able to take out these Magus sisters. She had gone down and cracked some eggs as well, and got enough XP to get Quake on Palom, very quickly following in Min's footsteps here to complete Mount Ordeals. So she will also be getting that Earth Crystal and upgrading both her Tella and the Cecil that we know is awaiting her in Dwarf Castle.
Allisele getting through that rough Magus sister spot, immediately locking that result in, and I don't blame her. And then we're gonna move on and find that she's up against some really weak Dark Imps here. That turns out that she has nothing to worry about, but of course no way of knowing that before you get here.
Min, I think, facing the true boss of Free Enterprise, which is the NPCs that get in your way when you are just trying to get somewhere specific.
The very seldom seen Slumber Sword pickup on Min's side. That is probably a first. You know you are struggling for a Cecil weapon when you buy a Slumber Sword out of a shop.
Yeah, and we talked about this briefly earlier, that Allisele did a lot more looting, and I know that she has, unless she sold them, and maybe Min did too before he picked up his Paladin, but I know that there are both lightsabers and rune axes available, and I'm pretty sure Allisele had multiples of both, so her extra looting is going to come in handy when she does pick up her Paladin. Now that she's finished up Mount Ordeals, she'll probably be going to that Dwarf Castle to get Cecil pretty soon here.
And it looks like Min is going to be, heading up the Tower of Zot, going to take a look. Actually, is going to duck into the Earth Crystal checks. I believe on the Gauntlet flags, these chests are not weighted. They're just as random as everywhere else. But it is still a lot of checks. So your odds of pulling at least a half decent weapon are decent out of here. And there's an Ice Brand, which is already a pretty decent replacement for that Slumber Sword for sure.
Yeah, both an Ice Brand and a Fire Sword for Cecil, so can hit a couple different elements on top of everything. He's got a couple more checks here. I don't know that he's going to get anything better than an Ice Brand out of these checks, but got a fairly decent weapon. I saw a couple other nice weapons. Gungnir Spear for Kane, if we happen to find one. I saw some mute arrows, which would have been real nice for Rosa back up on the mountain.
Yeah, Min knows his priorities, decking out this Tella, making sure that he lives through everything here as best as possible. And Allisele right behind Min, checking out these chests here. We'll see if she decides to just head straight up Zod as well, especially since she has not picked up a Cecil yet. That might be even extra incentive for her.
Yeah, it looks like Min just ducked out. I assume he took a safety save. I didn't actually see that that's what he did, but he ran out and now he's running straight back in to go up to Tower of Zod.
And yeah, also found a ninja sword in there, and she also has a long in her inventory, so she's ready for an edge if there's an edge up here. I did see that light sword is still in her inventory as well. So Allisele is definitely much better equipped to take on any of the physical fighters that happen to show up, with some not necessarily high end, but some relatively high end weapons, whereas Min is really only set up for a cane or potentially a duplicate Cecil.
And to answer Rivers in chat, yes, neither of the runners have decided to do Keyless Tower yet, which is a little curious considering the boss of Lower Babel is one of the objectives. There's no tower key yet, but they don't need it in order to complete that objective. But they could just be trying to do the 2 checks in one if they find a tower key somewhere along the way. And I think this Earth Crystal is a good incentive because they are so early in and none of them have a full party yet.
Oh, and the tournament namesake sitting here at the Mega Sisters with the Alt Gauntlet.
Yep, we saw the first blue robe up on Ordeals, so here is our second one. So this is the alternate fights that are drawn from the area that the gauntlet is found in that we were talking about. So some of these encounters we haven't seen in 20 plus years since we played the original vanilla version of the game.
Trying to remember, I don't think there's anything particularly nasty that comes out of Tower of Zod other than a few flame-based enemies, which that Ice Brand should make short work out of. So I don't think there should be anything too dangerous here for Min.
And Allisele right behind, so we're going to see both of the runners in this gauntlet fight overlapping together in just a moment once she gets into this fight as well. Min making real good use of that Stardust Rod to do some medium AoE damage against these enemies.
Okay, I had my towers backwards. This is the one with the ice stuff in it, but as you noted, there were fire swords in there as well, so if the Stardust Rod isn't powerful enough to handle all this stuff on its own, then Cecil should be able to easily clean up the rest.
Yep, seen lots of enemies here that we haven't seen in quite a while, but with the casters who have access to both that Stardust and that Quake and Virus, not having too much trouble with any of these. Now, the Alt Gauntlet is really scary when you find it in a place like the Moon, because you can get fights that include like the dragons and the evil masks and warlocks and the red giants, things like that. That can be really nasty.
Yeah, there's a few other random spots here and there where the enemies can be a tad bit tougher than you might think. Like Alt Gauntlet at Ashura or something like that, for instance. Like you get the Arachnid that'll just like constantly spam Quake on you. So there can be some spots where it can be relatively tough, but this is not one of them.
Allisele having to actually cast spells to get through this. I think that Stardust Rod was at Dwarf Castle that Min did earlier. that Allisele has not done yet. So she's having to get through this by actually like casting Quake, which we see is just as effective. It's slightly slower.
Yeah, slightly longer to get the cast out, and with the cast animation and everything. Nice mute bell drop though. If you happen to run into the Baron guard somewhere in particular, that can be a nice little safety.
Well, we have a pretty nice setup for that Reflect Strat party that you were talking about earlier, Zyrek.
Turning down the Fusoya. My.
Yeah, taking the Rydia and leaving the Tella, but turning down Fusoya, that's interesting. I wonder, he put Rydia in the middle spot, so I wonder if he's wanting to keep her as an anchor, but then I'm not sure what he would want Tella for at this juncture.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was just a miss menu, but he's equipping Fu's equipment on other folks, so this looks like this is the way he wants to go. You could argue that if your intent is to level Rydia at some point, that if you want Tella as your anchor and you want Cecil to be your guy who just uses the Star Veil on himself, that you would prefer to have the 3 pure casters because they'll have more spell damage than Fu with the Z fight. But that's real galaxy brain thinking that far ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. This is I like this play in that it is different, and we don't see something like this very often. So I'm going to be really, really interested to hear Min's thoughts on this if we can get him in for an interview after this race later this evening.
And of course, Allisele's not going to have a choice here. She is going to be adding a Rydia and a Fu to her current party, and should be really nicely set up with a really, really nice set of mages here. So as long as we don't, she doesn't run into any bosses where you really, really want physical damage, like a really rude Valvalis or something, she should be pretty set to go here.
This evil wall proving not to be very difficult for Min, getting through this fight pretty easily, and Allisele is getting into it very quickly here. I don't think she's going to have much trouble with it either. Unfortunately, Rydia starts at level 1, regardless of when and where you pick her up, with all of 30 hit points, so it's kind of difficult to keep her alive in a boss fight like this. If either of them do actually decide to keep her for the final fight, they're going to have to do some grinding on her on something like eggs that's a little bit safer in order to get her levels up.
Allisele with a real nice Soma drop there. I did see them for sale in Troya. Not sure if she bought them there or she found them elsewhere. But one Soma drop for both Fu and Tella, honestly, is actually a really, really big boost in terms of get break points for spells for their MP. So really nice being able to get Fu, in this case, up to 200 MP.
So the key item here from the Tower of Zot was the hook, and it looks like Min is going to go raise the hovercraft, and that will allow him to then turn the rat tail in, which was our starting item that they've been hanging on to for almost an hour now. So that will be another potential key item check.
Yeah, hoping for either to just get the twin harp straight out. Even getting the tower key would be really nice, because that would let you get your full lower Babel check done and not have to worry about potentially leaving something behind.
Looks like Allisele is actively trying to kill Rydia off. She may be wanting to do a grind with her, and Rydia was being real resistant to just wanting to die. Looks like Evil Wall did finally hit her, and is taking a dirt nap now, while Fu is charging something up. It looks like it's a level 3 spell. I was going to say this is a much longer casting than something like Quake or Nuke.
Real nice find there. Avenger off that rat tail turn in. So not a crystal sword, but Cecil just going to be real mad boy and is going to just swing away. Dice strength bonus on the Avenger as well. Berserk is busted, so he has definitely shot way up our list of usefulness.
Yeah, it's man, you know, the pure reflex strats is usually considered faster if you have a good party setup for it in the Zeromus fight. But when you have Cecil with a good weapon, it's really hard to pass him up and have him just swinging away at Zeromus too.
All right, so it looks like Min was considering going back and taking another crack at that Wyvern with the base level Rydia, which honestly is not a bad idea. But has decided that discretion is the better part of valor and is going to go take a poke at the Tower of Babel boss here, which is required.
Yeah, I think with his party setup, probably won't have too much trouble. I think Valvalis would probably be the toughest boss for him at this point. I know we talked a little bit about the different bosses that could give him trouble. Kinyatsu could still be a little bit of a problem up here, but I think Valvalis would probably prove to be the most difficult boss. Do you know if magic gets through Valvalis in that spot by chance?
This one, I believe it does. I believe this is one of the 6 where you can actually hit Valvalis with spells from here.
I was thinking that it probably is. So even Val wouldn't be undoable here. Still an annoying fight, but I think still doable.
Yeah, I think the toughest stuff that you're going to come across left up here is the HP percent based enemies, and with the Avenger and with the Fu. Well, Min doesn't have the Fu, but even with the Palom at this point. And we're going to get either elements or Rubicons, which is awesome because this spot has no magic offense whatsoever. So this should be pretty easy.
So now we see a little divergence as well. While Allisele decides to dive into Cave Eblan, she's following her same MO here of doing checks. She's probably going to be checking the shop and then checking the character that is in front of the Tower of Babel here.
Does find the wine here in Eblan, so we'll probably be grabbing a few of those for the road, and we'll see if she decides to go all the way through and check the character as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because she has a lot of good stuff for characters who she doesn't have. Like, she's got a lot of good Cecil weapons. She's got the Bacchus now that would be great for Cecil. Even though I know we just got an Avenger, it's still nice to have some on hand. I think that shop just had more lightsabers because she doesn't already have a couple, but she doesn't have that Cecil yet, so...
And yeah, and she is running straight through. She's not looting either, not risking the Stillman chest. Just wants to see who the character at the end of this is.
Elements over on Min's screen are going down pretty quickly here. This fight is not proving to be too much of a problem. Looks like he's got through it now. Rydia's still taking a dirt nap. Not sure if he's going to want to keep her dead or if he's just going to try to keep her for a slingshot later on.
So Min reset out of that fight at the top of the tower, which means that objective is not completed. I'm assuming he saw the reward, which we didn't catch, and it wasn't progression, so he's maybe deciding to leave it for later, or may just not realize that he will in fact have to go back up and complete that objective again.
The reward was a life staff, and so it was not a key item. It was not progression. And yeah, if he either forgot that that's his objective or is just thinking that he's going to go back and do it, but that means that he's going to have to climb all the way back up there and redo that fight.
Right. The real worry is not necessarily forgetting it. It's if he thinks he needs the tower key rather than killing the boss at the top, because that could really get you searching a seed for something you otherwise don't need. If he just forgot and goes back up, that certainly is a time loss, but it's not egregious. But if you think you need the super cannon room and you don't need it, that can be rough.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess we are going to see where he goes from here. He's doing some, looks like some selling and some inventory management now. While meanwhile, Allisele has picked up somebody who can finally use some of that nice melee equipment that she's been hoarding. She got a cane from the Eblin character check, and has already put that Avenger on him that she picked up from the Rat Tail check.
Yeah, I think she put the gun gear back on, probably because she intends to go and crack some eggs to get this cane up to speed here. Or it may just be, no, just heading straight into Dwarf Castle. All right, I like it. The seldom seen Rockmoth Roth larva fight to put Rydia back down here. So it certainly looks like Min is intending on keeping Rydia down either as an anchor or potentially, if this winds up being leveling through the D machines, to just get her that massive slingshot at the end.
Yeah, although it does look like he's going back to crack more eggs, or at least he's in the right spot for it. And yeah, he's using the siren, so he's doing some more leveling for now, at least.
Yeah, this might be because he knows he's starting to get down to the point where he kind of has to look at the Feymarch bosses. That would be my guess. Although I don't think we've seen either runner do the Sheila 1 check yet either.
I think Allisele did it, and I think it was nothing, but okay. I don't remember what it was. I know she went and talked to Yang, and I'm pretty sure... Oh, Dathis is confirming that she hasn't actually turned it in yet. I couldn't remember if she had just gone and talked to Young or if she had actually gone back and talked to Sheila afterward.
So yeah, Allisele should make pretty quick work of this Dark Elf with these casters here. And with this Fu, she should have no problem with the plague fight that is going to follow this.
She has also got a dead level 1 Rydia in her middle spot. So we'll see if she decides to keep Rydia for an anchor or if she's maybe going to trade her out for the Cecil that we know is coming.
And yeah, this could be a really interesting party choice for her. She has excellent weapons for Cecil. It'll be very telling whether she's more comfortable with the Berserk or the Full Reflect. Nice siren for Min, by the way, with a rare drop off the eggs. And Allisele says ta-ta to Tidia and takes the Paladin Cecil here, which I believe I would too, and this is the choice that I would make in her spot.
Yeah, this is going to be a great hybrid party now. I don't think she would use this party to go full reflex strats, but with both Cecil and Kane and the gear that they have, they're going to be pushing out a lot of damage, and then Palom can be adding to that damage with Nuke. Even Rosa can be using White if she decides to get both of her casters up to that level.
If we happen to come across it, I would actually be hanging on to good bow and arrows or a heroine robe or anything like that for Rosa here as well, because you could very easily just set up Archer Rosa in this spot as well. I would definitely hang on to that stuff if any of it came up. All right, it looks like Min is... He's landing the save right in front here. So yeah, it looks like he is deciding to head on down and do these bosses. This is a really good opportunity actually to set up cover strats with Cecil. You can run around on these damage tiles here, get your whole party down to 1 HP, and then just heal Cecil up to full health, save, go down and take out that D-Mist, put Cecil in the back row, and then just let your casters go to work.
Yeah, definitely. So if Min can get through both of the bosses down here, that's going to be potentially 3 checks, 2 from the bosses and then 1 from D-Mist, once he goes back up and turns the D-Mist into Rydia's mom, the D-Mist check-in. Question in chat was... switching Kane from Gungnir to the Avenger sword and which one is better. Gungnir, I think, has like better attack power, but the Avenger does have better strength multipliers. To be honest, I am not 100% sure which one is considered better overall. I do know that with the Avenger glitch, when you switch from one weapon to the Avenger, you keep the properties of that weapon but gain the berserk properties of the Avenger. So if the Gungnir is better, you keep its properties but gain the berserk properties of the Avenger. But I honestly don't know if the Avenger's strength boosting properties are better than the Gungnir's the attack power of the Gungnir or not.
Yeah, Rivers is saying it's probably slightly better to do the switch. It's so close that I probably wouldn't bother myself. I would probably just throw the Avenger on. But I wouldn't be shocked if it is slightly better for to do the switch technically.
So it looks like Min is taking the dolls first. This is the easier and going to be the faster of the 2 fights. Assuming that he is able to take all the dolls down before they transform into the big doll.
Does have a pretty large amount of the castable items in his inventory. So between that and the Palom, should be able to get this down pretty quickly.
Ooh.
Oh.
Ooh.
Rydia is going to live through the fight, though, which was definitely not his intention.
Yeah, you saw him trying to take that Rydia down in the last few rounds there, and she was being somewhat resistant to her own attacks.
All right, so that tower key could actually be a really huge find for Min, because that will push him to go back into Lower Babel. So hopefully when he takes out the super cannon, if that's where he was messed up, he'll go, wait a minute, why didn't I get an objective, and check his objective list and realize he has to go back up and take elements out again. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, definitely. So that's a very good find for Min. I don't think we found cabins yet. I'm not even sure if we found tents. So it looks like our runners are having to stay in the inn in order to replenish their hit points and magic points.
Something else you don't see very often is the sleep at an inn in an FE race. See a lot of stuff we don't usually get to see in this one.
Yeah, this has been a fun little race tonight with some alternate strategies and things that don't come up very often.
And Smapey, you've been officially relieved of the Rolls Jet Seed title that nobody wants. So congratulations. The Twin Harp has been buried well enough that you managed to avoid that title.
Yeah, it's been over an hour and we still haven't found it, so... I also like the amount of divergence and convergence that our runners have shown. They've been doing a lot of crisscrossing and overlapping, but then also going in alternate directions too. So we saw them Allisele checked the hook while Min was checking the Tower of Babel, and now they've both converged again here in the Fey March. So it's kind of fun to see them going back and forth and crisscrossing like that.
Yeah. And a few people are pointing it out in chat that this Cecil for Min does in fact have the Avenger on, which means we are going to get sprayed with a whole lot of cold mist while Cecil tries to hack through it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a... having anybody berserked in this party is not a fun time. Man, I would be tempted if not to reset out of this, I would be tempted to kill that Cecil off, to be honest.
Every once in a while, I get a demist where most of my damage is from berserk characters, and I'm like, I'll have to sit through one mist phase. If I berserk people, it won't be that bad. It's bad. It takes forever to sit through all these. I mean, look at this. This is one guy berserking. Could you imagine if you had 3 people berserking, hacking away? You'd be here forever.
And this is only one round of the mist form. And how many hit points? Fortunately, we talked about this earlier. Fortunately, this is the lower hit point spot of the 2 spots down here. So hopefully he'll be able to get through these all the hit points here pretty quickly.
This is trying to help out and put that Cecil down, but yeah, not having nuke here, and there we go. Better just to get through with only the 1 miss cycle though, which is pretty decent.
Another very useful key item from Mr. Dragon, the pan. So Min has some options now. Min can go do tower again. Since he's got the tower key, he'll be able to get both the top of tower, which is required, and the cannon room. Min can go do the 2 checks. Well, it would be 3 checks for him because he hasn't been to Sylph Cave at all from the pan check. And Min can also go back up to the overworld at any point and talk to Rydia's mom to turn in the Mist Dragon check.
So it looks like Allisele is dipped out of Mist and is going to do the tower. I believe she's got the tower key, I think. Maybe not. Did she not take out the Calbrina?
I thought she did finish Calbrina.
Okay.
I think.
So she should be, as long as she does, she should be able to knock everything out here, which will be good. And Min not coming back here does worry me a little bit, but maybe he'll just knock out the pan checks first and then head back.
Yeah, the pan checks are very quick. You get some 3 key items. So he could just be thinking that for density of checks, he's going to do this first.
Just looking for that twin harp for our last objective. The runners are desperately hoping they find it before the darkness crystal shows up. And there it is.
Ooh, there it is. So, demist is required, but not for demist itself. Just the spot is required in order to get that pan from the Ashura spot.
So Min is going to take one more swig of the good soup here, and then we'll likely head straight over to Cave Magnus, I would expect.
So it'll be interesting to see what he does after he completes Cave Magnus. Does he think he already... He can't think he finished. Okay, he's going back to Bagel now.
Yeah. We'll see if he does the super cannon room first, and then we get the oh my god and the tracker check, or if he just reset without thinking and just heads straight back up to the top.
So point of note, we don't have a way to get to Zeromus yet.
This is true. No pass, no darkness crystal. But there's very little left between the overworld and the underworld. Between the Demas check and Cave Magnus, that might be down to pretty much it, right? In the Sheila 2 turn in.
Sealed Cave. There could be
right.
Vanilla Darkness Crystal, which we talked about earlier too.
That's right.
Oh, and chat's pointing out that Baron Inn has not actually been completed yet.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because, you know, Min's lost base level Rydia. She's gained a few levels. Allisele doesn't really have any kind of terrific anchor. Yeah, that could be not great.
Apparently Min's Rydia does not want to die. There, she finally went down, but I saw she was muted. She was in critical hit points, but she just did not want to fall over and take a nap.
Yep. She was just in full clench mode. She's just trying to help. Just let her help. Come on. Just let her help.
She kept telling Cecil at the end of the game there in Vanilla that it's up to everybody to save the world. She wanted to save the world. Oh, and there he forgot to turn encounters back off, so he ran into another random egg. Not the kind of egg that you want to actually grind on, just a random egg.
All right, and Allisele completes her 5th objective. Lower Babel. She has access to complete her first one whenever she likes. She just needs to head back into the Fame March and take out that D-Mist for her twin harp.
Yeah, so Min is going straight to the cannon room, and once again we see our runners converging in the same check here. This is a good spot to find Ashura. She can be pretty annoying and fairly dangerous in a higher level spot, so very easy boss here.
Yeah, so doing the cannon makes me think that Min thought he restarted at that top of Babel because he thought he had to do this. So when he runs out and gets his item and there was the pause right there.
I wonder if he thinks he has to do. I wonder if he thinks he maybe has to do both of the bosses in Lower Babel in order to get the objective done. I'm not sure.
Definitely headed back up. So that pause right there may have been the oh my god, I have to go back up and do this. We'll see. But he's definitely going back up, which is a good sign. And yeah, as Rivers points out in chat, the main thing to worry about here for Allisele is that eventually the Darkness Crystal is going to show itself. If she finds it before she goes back to do D-Mist, is she going to get baited into the moon checks? That's the big danger for her where she's at right now.
Yeah, that would be a real deep rabbit hole for her to get stuck into at this point. Okay, so that was an adamant. So that's good for Allisele so far. To answer girl named Captain. That is correct. We have not checked Rydia's mom, and yes, she could hold Darkness Crystal. The concern being that if this check right here that Allisele is going to, for example, at Baron Inn has Darkness Crystal, and Allisele then decides to follow up on it instead of going back down to defeat Demist, then Allisele could get baited into going to the moon first.
Yep. She may decide to do Luca Key after this if it's not Darkness, which could have it as well. It certainly is a possibility that could happen. We certainly hope for her sake that it won't.
Okay, so Min finishing up this check for a second time up here at the top of Tower of Babel and finishing up his 5th objective. So all that he has left now is to complete the 3rd objective, break the Dark Elf's spell with the Twin Harp, and he has the Twin Harp, so I'm sure that we're going to be hearing some music pretty soon here.
Yep, absolutely. And Allisele's going to go take another shot at recruiting her Edward here, and we'll see if she can get a turn off before this Wyvern. Trying to run buffer and get that Star Veil off. All right. Even with just the Rosa up, she's so leveled and Rosa's in the back row. She should be able to handle whatever the boss is here, even with just the Rosa alone.
Yeah, this antlion, even if she decides she maybe wants to raise like Palom or Fu or somebody to, pop a quake off, she's not going to have any problems with this.
I'm sure microwaved antlion is a delicacy somewhere. I think we're going to see that here pretty shortly.
Delicious, crispy fried.
Min doing his best Charlie Brown impression and getting his rock, and we'll likely, again, have some more soup, and then off to Twin Harp here.
I'm sure Allisele thinks that she is absolutely lucking out here with these checks, but it actually is very fortunate that she's getting what she's getting, so she's not getting baited into any deeper rabbit holes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where you're frustrated you're not getting the thing you want, but little do you know that the fact that you're not getting anything is actually really good.
Yes. I'm trying to think, does she have anywhere else to check now? Oh, Sealed Cave. She's going to at least go open it, and we'll see if she decides to peek the key item.
Yeah, I really hope if this is Vanilla Darkness that she heads back down to take out the Mist Dragon before she decides to invest in the moon. Mist Dragon, it's at least 2 key item checks. We know it's even more than that because it holds the pan. It would be tough to turn that down. Well, while it would be an annoying fight, it certainly isn't difficult with a caster heavy setup. So I certainly would not feel comfortable leaving it for the moon, even if the Darkness Crystal did show up. So I hope she feels the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we're getting kind of down to the wire as to where our Zeromus access is. We have to have a Darkness Crystal mixed in either in one of these 2 spots that our runners are in, or at the Demist turn-in, or at the 2 Sheila spots, right? Or is that all that's left?
Yeah, I believe so. Assuming, or potentially a chain off the Baron key from one of those spots, but yeah, otherwise, yeah.
Right. All right, so we've got Spoony B about to play some tunes for us, so I think we'll let y'all listen to that. All right, so we've got Spoony B about to play some tunes for us, so. So I love how Min did a little dance for us and then tried to walk out, since he now has all of his objectives and has his crystal and didn't technically need to beat this boss, but does need to beat the boss in order to get out of this room.
Right. But he doesn't have Zeromus access though, so he actually kind of does need to check this anyway.
That's very true. So that's a pink tail, so still no Zeromus access, and that can't lead to anything either. The no adamants flag is turned on, so not that it would lead to a key item anyway, but it's only going to lead to it'll be a nice piece of equipment if he decides to go turn it in, but it won't be a key item or anything that will lead to progression.
Yeah, holding this Tella, like, you basically have two spots that are basically completely dead for damage. Against Zeromus, you have an under-leveled Rydia that it doesn't look like he has any real intention of leveling up, and a Tella that has utility but doesn't have any raw output really. I might check that pink tail on the off chance that it's an Excalibur or Crystal Sword. That would be a huge increase to your Zeromus DPS.
Meanwhile, over on Allisele's side, it looks like she once again got saved from any rabbit holes by finding a Masamune in the sealed cave. So she was able to complete her 5th objective and is now grinding some eggs, which it looks like Min is going to do the same thing. But she still does not have the Twin Harp, and neither of them have a Darkness Crystal or a pass to give them Zeromus access.
Min actually just taking a random encounter and gets the rarest encounter in the table, which is what the Siren pulls, and gets an egg. I'm going to be asking Min for the lottery numbers later. Yeah.
I'm not sure if he realized that that was the random encounter, or if he wanted to do some more setup after, because he ran away from it then. He was just trying to kill Rydia, and then he ran away from it.
I honestly would have been really surprised too. Like, wait a minute? Okay.
Right, exactly. It's kind of like, I know that now that we've got the alt gauntlet, a lot of times when runners run into the alt gauntlet, they're like, what is this? What is going? Why am I getting random encounters?
And yeah, Ali realizing the writing is on the wall, head down to take on her D-Mist. Another free Siren. Isn't that supposed to be a rare drop? Come on, game.
I mean, the egg is all supposed to be the random encounter or the rare encounter, but we found one of them too, so.
I mean, why even up the price on Sirens when you buy one that's the same as 10 anyway? I mean, come on now.
I don't know. You can talk to Rivers about that if he's still in chat.
Yeah, I blame Rivers. I'm going to add this to my next piece of being back on ideas right behind Playable Golbez.
Hashtag blame Rivers. Is that going to be the new thing?
Yeah,
now?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it always was, but it will continue to be for sure. All right, so unleashing some coffins on these eggs. With the Avenger, Cecil is almost certainly strong enough at this point to just, if you just parry around to his turn, he'll probably take it out on his own. But almost at Zeromus levels, he just needs to pop a couple more Sirens to get White and Nuke on everybody.
Yeah, it's real curious that he is keeping this Tella, presumably to take to the Zeromus fight. I wonder if and how he plans to utilize him for that fight. Allisele is making her way back down to the demist fight that we know is down here. I don't think she's going to have too much trouble with this at this point. I think she... Oh, well, she might with only... Oh, she's doing the... We already said she's doing cover strats with Cecil, so that's why she's got everybody in critical hit points here.
Leaving Cecil in the front row, though, he's still going to get hit pretty hard. We do have a couple of white mages get blink on him, and he'll be all right. But, yeah, leaving him in the front row is a little precarious. Oof, yeah. It's all right, Allisele. It was the right thought. Just take the reset, flip Cecil to the back row, and you're golden.
Min is taking on the Baron Inn spot. Gonna get the something that doesn't lead to anything. I already forgot what it is. Package. It was a package that's here. But he does have the 2 pan checks that he can, well, the 2 Sheila checks, I should say, that he can get by going and talking to Sheila now. And I wonder if he's faded those and forgotten that he can do those.
Right. So we got to have our progression somewhere between that and the Demas turn in. So I'm sure that's part of the rest of the rounds. All right. Now Allisele's on the right track. Got that Cecil blinked and in the back row. The nuke's out. Callum will be casting Quake, I'm sure. This should go pretty quick.
Min gonna go do those pan checks. He did fly right over Mist, so as Chad is pointing out, he can still go turn in or talk to Rydia's mom for the Demist turn in as well.
So just an apple, and there's the Baron key.
Oh, Dathis on top of things tonight, our tracker.
I love this pause here from Min. I love it.
I think he's trying to figure out what to do next. Yeah.
I've had my moments in various randos where you get that. You're like, wait a minute, what?
You're like, what am I doing next? Rando gonna rando, and sometimes it leads you by the nose.
So is the Sheila check, or is the Demas? Has he done the Demas check?
He has not done Demas.
Okay.
No, I'm pretty sure he has not done it. No. Maybe he's gonna go turn Pinktail in, or I don't even know if he's turned. Has he turned Rattail in? He's gonna go turn Pinktail in either way.
Yeah. I do honestly. I do like this play. Getting a really good piece of mage defensive gear or a better weapon for Cecil is a pretty decent, humongous chunk to what you can do. White Spear unfortunately doesn't qualify, but
White Spear is going to be great for that cane that's over on Allisele's screen. We keep getting each runner keeps getting equipment for the other runner's people. Yeah, he's flown over Mist a couple of times now, and so I think if he's turned Demist in, I think we've missed it. So he may have forgotten, but either way, he's taking the Baron key now that he got from Sheila, and is going to go make the check into Baron Castle.
the next person who makes an FE tracker needs to build it so that after you check off that you've gotten the demist, that about 10 minutes later it makes a lot of really annoying noises and big flashing lights to remind you to go and turn it in, because if you wait longer than 5 minutes, you're done.
Yep, I agree. Chat has some great suggestions for this, so get somebody in chat get on this, please.
There are some really. I love the Clippy. That's a blast from the past. That shows how old I am. But yeah, that's great. All right, Allisele has picked up her pan and is now going to be on the way towards grabbing her twin harp and completing her last objective. Min is in Baron. We'll see if Allisele decides to check the D-Miss check and whether she can pick up some time here by grabbing her Zeromus access first.
This is really interesting. It's how often, especially in the Fabul Gauntlet seeds with the 5 random objectives, do you see the crystal before you see Zeromus access?
It certainly doesn't happen very often, especially since a lot of the time you wind up with boss or character hunts that are on the moon somehow, but not in this one. So yeah, no, it's certainly a rarity.
Yeah, I like it. It's fun to see stuff like this that's so different and out of the ordinary.
And see, this headcanon makes sense. This is why the King of Baron has you deliver a bunch of bombs to Rydia, because he is a bomb. This makes total sense to me.
There you go. Yes.
Rose is still rocking that short bow for now.
I think Allisele is going to show us if Rydia's mom has got it going on.
Here we go. Pass her Darkness Crystal. Let's go. There it is.
Oh my gosh, there it is. And Min has faded it. So what are we going to find here in Baron Castle?
We're not going to find very much. Like hopefully the pass for his sake, right? Because
yep.
But there's so many key item checks on the moon. It's so much more likely to be on the moon than it is here.
So Allisele does still have to do all of Cave Magnus to get her crystal. But Min just has to remember that he has to go get the Darkness Crystal. We'll see what this key item is, and then if he decides to do Odin before he goes back to Mist Village.
Right. Yeah, Min is also pretty much at Zeromus levels, while Allisele is not. So there is going to be some kind of investment there as well.
Well, Min is parked in the right area, but he's going to go cash that sand ruby in first. I don't know that we know.
Well,
that was a Yang, and he's deciding to just nope right out of that.
Yeah.
Oh, he's moving on. He's gonna go talk to Rydia's mom.
All right. Fades the Odin check at the very least, but now he's got his access set up. Should just head straight to the moon, I would think. If he feels like he needs there you go. I know that feel, man. I know that feel. So he should just head straight to Zeromus, I would think. Maybe take one King Real if he really feels like he needs it. Have we seen a duplicate character yet? Maybe if there's a duplicate Fu on the moon, you take it, but yeah.
I don't think we've seen a dupe yet, no. Looks like he's got a little shopping to do before he wants to go up to the moon. Were there, I know there were Bacchuses. I think those were in Eblan. Were there maybe silk webs here that he wants?
Yeah, I don't remember where the silk webs were. They might have been here. Maybe he wants to grab a couple more. Yeah, he's gonna grab another pack of sirens. Yeah.
I see he picked up a Sid that was in Baron instead of the Tella that he's been hanging on to since the beginning.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if his plan now is to have Sid be the anchor and he's planning on leveling this Iridia. I'm wondering if that's the thought process. I don't know.
Does what level is Rosa? She doesn't have life 2 yet, does she?
Perhaps not, but if she doesn't, she shouldn't be more than one Siren, one King Roo fight away.
I was gonna say a life 2 grind on King Ryu's to get Iridia a slingshot would be pretty neat.
That's true. Yep. And yeah, we can let you folks listen to some FF1 battle music once again.
I like that harp rendition. Well, I like all the harp renditions, but that's a good battle harp rendition.
Yeah, the NES themes really translate well to the mini music for sure, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Mm-hmm. So Allisele picking up her pink tail, but more importantly, picking up her crystal, and already has the darkness crystal. So she's technically in go mode. I don't think she has the levels yet, so we'll see what she decides to do next to get her team ready for the big Z fight.
Yeah, taking the Sid is an interesting decision here for Min, especially when you have that Fu that's you could rescue theoretically if you wanted more firepower for Zeromus. We will see if Allisele is. Well, she's actually even rocking 2 fairly well-equipped berserkers, and it looks like she's going to turn this pink tail and get herself a Holy Lance as well, considering where she's flying to. So, if she can get her levels quickly, she may be able to make up time on the Zeromus fight itself. So this could be very close.
Looks like she's going to go turn the pink tail in. She's going to get that white lance, and she does still have Cane. So that'll be a nice pickup for her. Maybe not quite as good as, say, a crystal sword that maybe she was looking for her Cecil, but still a very nice item regardless.
Yeah, this could be a very, very interesting fight. Allisele looks like she's going to. She has a Fu. She has access to weak, so finishing her grind on the King Roos makes complete sense. But she's going to be the first to the big whale cutscene, so she will almost certainly get to the moon before Min does. Min will probably pass her while she's grinding, but I think she's going to have the faster Z fight, so could be in for a very close finish.
Yeah, getting to be kind of a nail biter here. Might see if the character on the moon affects either of them too. Like you said, if it is possibly a duplicate foo, that could possibly affect who they decide to take with them.
Yeah, I am curious about this Moon character. Honestly, even an Edge would be very, very, very interesting. I don't know if Ellis has kept any of the Edge-specific weapons, but we found so much other fodder for him throughout this scene just to be a dart machine.
Min is going, I'm not sure what level Min is, but he's going for all the levels. Look at the hit points on his Palom.
Yeah, this tells me that he just doesn't trust his team's DPS on this fight, so he's going for the extra survivability of all this HP. He may be a little bit peeved that this Rydia, who refused to die on a couple of fights and is not base level any longer, and he's not overly confident in his anchoring ability either. But certainly overgrinding certainly seems like he's not particularly confident that this team can get the job done if it's a close fight.
Allisele finding hourglasses in the Hummingway item shop. That would have been real nice a little bit earlier in the seed, maybe an hour ago, if they had had an earlier access to Darkness Crystal for some of the boss fights that they ran into.
And a duplicate Sid.
Well, we do find a dupe. Not sure if it's the dupe that they're going to be looking for.
Allisele bids adieu to Zide and continues on down.
Yep, she's taking her dive down into the lunar subterrane. I assume she picked up her sirens, so she's probably going to be doing her grind probably on gold dragons. Those are the traditional grind down here, but could possibly take a slightly less common grind of warlocks if she decides to as well.
Yeah. I think with the weak source from the Foo, and I don't know where her Palom is at. He might be large enough to know weak. If he's not, he'll learn it pretty shortly into the grind, which will actually really speed it up as well when you can get weak going twice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that floor that she just passed was the warlock grind spot, so she looks like she's diving deeper in. Probably going to go down to the save point, which is very close to the gold dragon grind spot.
And yeah, Min continuing to check weapon and armor shops here before he goes to Z, which, yeah, again, just more evidence that he doesn't really trust the damage on this team here. So he's continuing to get them up and ready to survive the magic damage from Zeromus.
I mean, he's finding and being able now to buy some very nice equipment. But this extra time now is affording Allisele time to get down into the moon and get into her own grind. So she's very quickly closing the lead that Min had on her. And yeah, Dath is saying that this is going to be very much of a nail biter, and I think it is. Min is just now raising the big whale, going to be going to the moon. It's going to take him a couple of minutes to get down to the point that Allisele is at, and in that time, she's going to be working on her own grind. So it's going to be real close, folks.
Yeah, assuming Allisele is comfortable going to Zeromus with this group in like the the late 40s, early 50s sort of range. She shouldn't need any more than 3 or so of these fights, so she shouldn't have much time here.
Yeah, she's got more than 10 key items, so getting that double XP, a full 180,000 when she gets the life glitch off on one of those gold dragons. That's a lot of XP. So we saw those levels just shoot up there on that first fight.
And yeah, this is definitely going to come down to the Z fight. Min is going to be much higher leveled, but is going to have a very not optimal party for it. Allisele has got a very, very strong hybrid team set up here. So the execution on the spell casting on Zeromus is really going to make the difference and determine the outcome here.
So this grind that Allisele is doing, we can talk about just a little bit real quick. Of course, this is utilizing the sirens, but she's also utilizing what we call the life glitch, where if you cast life or use a life potion on an enemy after they have been killed, you can bring them back to life, but enemies that are revived with they have no vitality, so they are revived with 0 hit points, so they immediately die again. So that's how she's getting that extra XP off of this fight, by utilizing that glitch.
Yeah, I would assume that this is going to be Allisele's last grind here, and these two are going to be insanely close going into this Zeromus fight.
Yeah, especially now we see Palom's got that weak, so this last fight's gonna go especially fast.
Palom is 1 or 2 levels short of Nuke, so she has 1 siren left, so she might take 1 more. She was looking at Rosa's agility earlier as well. She may be hoping she can get Rosa to the 28 agility breakpoint, which she's probably just short of right now as well. Although actually she has that ninja hat on, never mind. She's almost certainly good. Ugh. Yeah, real unfortunate. She's just short on her agility anchor. She's just short on Nuke. So she will be a bit behind here, as Min has saved at the save point and is on the crystal floor. So, Maggie, what does that mean?
That means that we have a question that we have to ask. Of course, in this randomizer, we randomize where the bosses are located, but we don't randomize where Zeromus is. He always stays as the final boss because he's too big and too hard and too difficult. So instead, we randomize what sprite he appears as. And so, Zyric, would you like to do the honors?
Sure. So, chat, whose butt do we get to kick tonight? Get in your guesses.
Yep, we see the Z flag coming out in hordes in chat. That Z flag is a flag in the randomizer that denotes that the Zeromus Zeromus sprite will be randomized, and we're about to see it in just a moment here. I was looking for Kaipomus the other day and I didn't see her, so I'm looking for Kaipomus tonight.
Okay. There's a lot of good ones that I like to guess on occasion. There are big misses in there, which I'm a fan of. We actually had Zero miss earlier tonight, which is another really good one. I think I'm going to go with the classic, the Terra Standby, and hope for Ultros.
I love Ultros, Miss, so that's a hard one to pass up and debate. And his true colors emerge.
To Ultimius from FF8.
I don't know that I've actually seen this one. This is a really nice rendition.
Yeah, Scala Kitty definitely does great work, whether she's artisting, that's definitely not a word, creating them herself, or ripping them from other areas. She does a great job.
Absolutely. I mean, she can be artisty, and that's fine. We can make up words for Scala, because why not? She deserves to have made up words made up for her. So Min getting into this fight, Allisele is right behind him. I think that she's maybe 90 seconds, if that, behind. So this is going to be right down to the execution of how well they can handle this Zeromus.
Yeah, this is going to be close. Allisele should have really good damage coming from 5 characters. Min's only got it from 4, but Palom and probably the Rosa are powerful enough that they should be able to put in some pretty max damage if he can manage to sneak in some whites from Rosa somewhere. So his DPS is not going to be terribly less than what Allisele's is, but is it going to be enough for her to make up the gap? It's going to be real close.
Yeah, Min getting set up now. He's got both of his Berserkers going. He's got that Star Veil up on Palom. Is bouncing these nukes off. We see Allisele is setting her party up. She got that Silk Web off. Yeah, she's got that Star Veil coming up. It's gonna be real close here.
Yeah. Min is probably going to lose this Palom to this Big Bang because he doesn't really have a way to heal him, and it looks like he's resigned himself to that fate here and is going to try and let the 2 Berserkers carry this home. But that's going to give Allisele time to get her damage in.
I think he just hit the refill, though, because we saw the double shake and the Big Bang, so I think that was the phase change right there.
And that wall has worn off. Palom is nuking himself.
Well, his Berserkers are still going real strong. His Rosa's going real strong. So I think he'll still be okay. Going a little bit slower than Allisele. So this does give Allisele a moment to catch up again.
This is so tense, chat. I hope you're all holding on to your butts. I know I am.
Yep.
Berserker's continuing to swing away on Min's side. The over leveling is actually going to come very much in handy here because he should be able to take all of these nukes and not be in danger of instantaneously losing people while Rosa's recasting all these berserks. Meanwhile, on Allisele's side, continuing with these casts, does have the berserkers rolling, so she is going full hybrid, not going to be able to refill skip here, but it's going to be extremely close between these two. This Big Bang goes off without a heal. This could be deadly.
Oh, and we see rocks falling on Min's side. Allisele's party mostly survives that Big Bang. Did lose the Palom, but otherwise her whole party is up. And there's the Flash for Min.
GG to MinhtheMage on an extremely, extremely close fight. Allisele is not going to be very far behind.
Yeah, this was an extremely close race the entire way through. We saw our runners overlapping and then diverging and then overlapping again and then finally coming together for this last great fight against Ultimemus. And Min ultimately did take the lead, and I think that we are joined in chat now by MinhtheMage.
Hello.
GG, congratulations. That was an extremely tight finish there.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm shaking so bad still, even like 10 minutes after we finished.
Well, GG on your finish. That was a very good finish on your part, keeping it together even after your Palom went down, and great finish on your end.
I saw that, and then I saw the cure hit on him, and my heart sunk. I was like, I just queued up a nuke. What have I done? And then it ended up killing him, but then Berserkers to the rescue.
So there are two questions about that we want to ask. I'll leave the one that chat really wants at the end. I'm going to let them sweat it. But the one is right at the end with the over leveling and the going through the shops. Do you want to explain exactly what you were thinking about why you felt like you had to do that?
The over leveling is because I'm really just not confident in my Z fight at all. I have always struggled with it, like even before I stopped playing this consistently. So I over leveled just to be on the safer side, and then going through shops was to get armor for Sid because I didn't want to run into this fight with leather armor. Just seemed like a bad idea.
Fair enough. And all right, we will ask you the other question that everybody wants to know about. So you did Tower of Zod. You got two characters offered to you. You got Iridia, who you kept and used as an anchor, and you had a Fu, who you immediately deposited into the dumpster. Why was that?
I got rid of Fu because I just don't really like using him. I feel like his MP kind of holds the character back a little bit. When I have a Tella I could use, and I knew that after I did Tower of Zod, I had more characters that I could get access to, and that ended up being a Sid, and I would much rather have a Sid than a Fu. And I also already had a super high level Palom anyway, and I find Berserkers a lot easier to use than nuke spammers, so...
Well, I have to say, I think that was chat's move of the day. They loved it when you threw that Fu away.
Yeah. I don't know. I like Sid a lot more than I like Fu. I've always been a fan of Sid, so.
Well, excellent. We love seeing some of these alternate strats. You know, it's not very often when you see a party that consists of Tella, and then you get offered a Fu, and their runner turns the Fu down and Tella. So that was excellent. We loved it.
I guess we do have one other question for you as well. So with the top of tower, did you not realize that was your objective? Was that like a reflex?
I thought that lower Babel meant the tower key door and not the Luge fight. So that's where I reset out. I saw the life staff and I'm like, oh, this is not useful to me. And then I quit out, and then I did the tower key. And I'm like, wait, I should probably go back and do that. Yeah,
okay, that's what I thought, because you had that 1 second pause outside the super cannon door, and I was like, that's the pause of recognition that I have done myself with no or other ones, where you're like, hey, wait a minute.
We were real worried that that's exactly what you were thinking, and that Tower Key was going to be a gigantic red herring for you. We were like, oh man, what if Tower Key is like up on the moon somewhere and he goes off looking for it and then he gets it and it turns like he doesn't even need it. So I'm real glad that you got it.
Super lucky
and
it was there.
Yeah, that it was right along your path and you got it real easily, and then you went right back up and did it, and then you were like, wait, let me change. I need to go back and do this again. So that's good. I'm glad it worked out the way it did for you.
And then I also reached go mode, and then I was doing my egg grind, and I'm like, wait, I don't have any moon access yet. This is not good either. So that was another bad thing.
Yeah, we talked about that in chat as well, that it's not very often at all in these flag sets, in the Fabul Gauntlet flags, that you see the runners get the crystal before they get their access to Zeromas, like a darkness crystal or something, because usually they are ending up having to go to the moon to get a boss hunter or something like that. So that was really unique to this seed, so that was fun to see.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
Keep yourself alive going forward here. And thanks for coming in and talking to us, and GG again on the race.
GG's.
GG.
And yeah, it looks like we're joined by Allisele. GG, very, very, very close finish. Well played.
Thank you very much.
So what did you think of that wyvern sitting in Baron Inn, opening up with that mega nuke very early on in your seed?
That was rude. I didn't like that very much.
Yeah, that was a pretty rude wyvern. Both you and Min saw that and noped right out of that. We were actually really glad when you went back there very late in the seed, and you hadn't gotten your twin harp yet at that point, and we were like, oh, we were really worried that darkness crystal was going to be there and that you were going to get baited into going to the moon. So we were really glad when you went there and got the adamant, and it was nothing. We were like, we know that Allisele is frustrated right now. She's looking for the thing that is going to be her progression, but she's actually getting really lucky with her checks right now. She doesn't know it yet, but she is.
Well, at that point I knew that it had to be behind that that mist dragon, and I'm like, I don't want to do that mist dragon in that location. But I just buckled it up and said, okay, let's do this.
I loved that you pulled the cover Cecil strategy out, because when both you and Min were first poking your heads down into Fame Arch, I pulled that up, that you can set that up. So I love that you did it. Even though that fight was certainly annoying, I'm sure the fact that strategy worked out so well for you once you moved the Cecil to the back row, that made that fight quite easy for you.
Well, and in that seed, can we talk about that elements fight and how I kept going? Well, today I learned.
Yeah.
Today I learned.
Yeah, I saw at least once when you accidentally got a Ice 3, I think it was Ice 3 off on Kenyatsu and healed for a bunch of damage. So yeah, the different elements in the element spot have different weaknesses and resistances.
Well, I did not expect the Rubicant to absorb Holy.
Yeah, Look, FF4 is a great and well-programmed game, but transitions they're a thing, and I think that's because Mill Z's Holy Absorption carries over to Rubicant, and that's why Val is also weak to Lightning, because that carries over from Kenyatsu. It's a weird fight.
But otherwise, I thought it was a good seed. A little trolly, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, actually, that's actually something I did want to ask. So with this set of 5 objectives, and then you had 4 of them basically handed into your lap within the first maybe 15-20 minutes of the game. Does that change the way you think about what you're doing? Do you stick with what's tried and true for you? What did that do for you in the seed?
I think it I was confused that I had so much that I could do so early. I'm used to usually having to fight for my underground access, so having an early magma seed just kind of threw me off. So I kind of floundered there for a little bit, but then once I kind of figured out where I needed to go, it was just kind of get through everything I can.
And yeah, you did absolutely fantastic, and this race came right down to the wire. It's really unfortunate that you needed that last siren to get Rosa to 28 agility and to get Palom to nuke. If you had just gotten enough experience for that off that first siren, this would have been such a super close finish between the two of you, as close as it already was. So yeah, you should definitely be proud of the effort that you put forward in this one.
Well, I'm glad that it was a close race. I'm still kind of not very good at playing Free Enterprise, so I'm glad that I kind of put on a good show for you.
Yeah, it absolutely was a pleasure to watch the two of you race together. There was a lot of overlapping at times and then diverging at times. So really fun to see both of you come together kind of in the same fights at times, but then also the divergence that you did and the different routes that you took. So it was a very fun race to watch.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that. Well, thanks again for everybody watching. I know this was kind of a real late one for some of y'all. And thanks so much for commentating and restreaming. Maggie, Zyrak, I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to listening to y'all. And then Smapedy and I believe that's Bahamut X in the background. No, Dathis. Sorry, Dath.
Well, absolutely, and thank you so much for letting us restream you and for being part of the community. I know that you are also involved in the restream community, so thank you so much, and GG on your run tonight.
Thanks, y'all. Everybody have a great night.
And that was MinhtheMage and Allisele, our featured runners tonight. Make sure to give both of them a follow. Both of them putting on just an excellent show for us in this late night race of Free Enterprise, the Fabul Gauntlet seeds tonight.
Yeah, so this is our last race for, well, this, I don't know, however you break your days up for now. There are 6 total Fabul Gauntlet races going on tomorrow. I'm sure we'll wind up having a couple of those restreamed here on the Free Enterprise channel, so keep your eyes peeled throughout the day. And then we will be moving on to round 4, and the matchups are starting to get real spicy. So be sure you stick around and keep watching some of these fantastic races.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a number of races tomorrow, and then no actual live races planned for Sunday, but we do have a runners review on Sunday evening planned, so definitely keep an eye on the channel this weekend for all of that is upcoming. And just another quick shout out to both Dathis and Smapedy for helping us out with tracking and restreaming. And Zyrak, do you have any other comments or anything else to say about this seed tonight?
This seed I think was a little instructive in terms of what to do with mage heavy parties and how to handle those sorts of situations. And I thought for being 2 relatively new runners, I thought both of our racers, we could put a really nice showcase of different strategies together. And it wound up being a very close race, very entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. And so thanks everyone for staying with us tonight. I know it was, like we said, kind of a late race, so I hope everyone enjoyed it. It looks like we're going to be sending you over to Marilyn Key, who is also a participant in the Fabul Gauntlet and is doing a practice seed this evening. So I hope you all have a great rest of your night, and hopefully we'll see you this weekend.
Absolutely. Thanks for commentating with me, Maggie, and I will see all of you next race.
Hooray!
Cool.
GG's.
Great job, guys.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I had fun tonight. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, same. That was a really fun race. I really enjoyed watching both of them.
That was Man, and I was watching like, okay, they get the darkness crystal, and I pull up the SRL looking for the done times, and it's like, this is 15 minutes later.